You're listening to the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast, the leading resource for real estate investors who want to dominate their market online. Dan Barrett is the founder of AdWords Nerds, a high-tech digital agency focusing exclusively on helping real estate investors like you get more leads and deals online, outsmart your competition, and live a freer, more awesome life. And now, your host, Dan Barrett.
Hey guys, welcome back. You're listening to the second part of last week's episode. Let's jump back in.
It's something that everybody should do. I heard this from Ken McCarthy, who people say he's the father of internet marketing. He says this, that every company out there, no matter the industry that you're in, you're actually in the testimonial acquisition business. So every company I go into, in my own companies, I make sure that I have some type of procedure that asks for the testimonial, asks for the reviews, asks for the video. So the very first thing that anybody can do after this call is make sure that every time they close a deal, they're at the table, or if it's virtual, whatever, they're asking for a video, a testimonial. And then I have a testimonial request type of sequence at the end that asks for a review or whatever it is that's part of their business. If it's just getting a video, getting a review, or emailing in a testimonial so they can put it on their website, whatever it is, start acquiring testimonials and reviews. Start asking if they know anybody else that's selling, right? So that was a big revolution for the fast food industry, was asking the question, do you want fries with that? To get that, increase the lifetime value of that customer. Yep. Well, we can do the same thing by asking if they know anybody else that's selling. Likelihood of, it's going to be a low percentage of people who are actually going to sell for a discount. But I mean, if you have 100 leads every year, and you ask 100 deals every year, and you ask every single one of them, you might have 2 or 3. That's an extra $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 just from asking that simple question, right? So I implement that as well to all my sequence on the back end, on when the deal closed type of sequences. So follow-up is just a whole holistic approach. So,
and I think you're really smart. I mean, the 3 things that you just pointed out, right? Which is, well, more than 3 things, right? But the idea of, 1, selling the person before the appointment, right? I think is incredibly powerful, right? Here's what to expect. Here's how we're going to show up. That kind of thing. I think the idea of, like you said, testimonial acquisition. If anybody out there, you're doing search engine optimization, testimonials, reviews on your Google My Business or whatever, those are incredibly helpful, right? So that's not just helping people be more confident when they're already in your funnel. That's also helping you get more leads in the future. And then again, like you said, looking for anyone else who wants to sell, a basic referral thing. I think those are all incredibly powerful, and I think go beyond what people usually think of for follow-up, which is, hey, are you ready to sell your house? Hey, are you ready to sell your house? Just like over and over and over again, right? So all right, this is a total nerd question. Okay. So I'm going to ask you a nerd question because this is a question that I have, right? All right. Now, I do email follow-up. I've done that. What ends up happening, though, the problem that I often run into is that I will build all these things out and then they conflict with each other. They don't connect in the right way, or you're 2 at once, or you bounce around. And I find that I always describe it as it's a rat's nest. And I don't know what it does anymore, but I'm always we got to burn it down and start over. So how do you keep your follow-up sequences organized, right? How do you make sure that you, for example, aren't just building another leaky bucket? Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah, no, entirely. So, yeah. And I think to answer that question, it's twofold. One is the organization of the sequences, which is on my part. Second part is going to be the usage of it, making sure they understand it. And then 3 is the CRM itself. How easy, how functional is the CRM to turn sequences off, to turn it back on. So how I design the sequences is, simplicity is, number 1 for me. I try to make sure that it's simple, easy to follow for everyone. So titling the sequences is a big deal, making sure that the title is clear cut and what it means to be in that sequence. So because, it's not 100% automated, and I don't want it to be 100% automated because then you get a rat's nest. I want it to be where there's a lead manager who has the 10,000 foot view. They see the lead. They see, okay, we have this lead in here. They've been here for a while. Where is this person at? Okay, they're in the selling delayed sequence, landlord. sequence. Okay, cool. They do a follow up. They have a task to follow up. They get new information where they say, "Hey, we sold the house. Cool, we're going to turn them off." Or they say, "Hey, we signed with somebody else actually, where there's another investor that offered more." Okay, cool. I'm going to turn off the sequence that they're in and then plug them into the new sequence. Now, so it can get in a rat's nest if, one, you don't turn off sequences, and two, you try to do everything 100% automated, which probably would be impossible to do. There still needs to be. So I set it up within sequence to have manual tasks. It's not 100% text, not 100% email. There are manual tasks in there so that it keeps our lead manager on top of it, following people, right? It'll take away a lot of the manual follow-up, and it'll keep everything in kind of a vertical organization to where, okay, this leads in this sequence, this leads in this sequence, this leads in this sequence. So as long as you understand, like the CRM has the capability to do so, you're turning off one sequence when you have something new, putting them into this sequence when something is new. As long as you're doing that, it's not going to be a rat's nest. The only time I've had a rat's nest in my own businesses when I try to automate 100% everything. So I hope that answers it. But
no, that's a perfect answer. And I think you're exactly right that the problem largely comes from, I always want to build like the perfect clockwork sort of thing that'll just run itself. But I think, like you said, the insight of having someone whose responsibilities to just look at the thing and be like, okay, now that I know this about this person, I'm going to put them over here. I'm going to turn off that other thing. I think that's a very powerful, a very insightful way of doing it. I mean, let me ask you. So I think choice of CRM is important. I think there are a lot of CRMs that have the functionality that we're talking about. Do you have systems that you prefer, recommend, that you like to work in? Do you have any recommendations for people in terms of that? And for people that aren't familiar, CRM stands for Customer or Client Relationship Manager. It's basically the software that you can track your leads in, can often send emails out and things like that. So what are the systems that you often recommend?
Yeah. So we worked in our team has worked in a handful, because we don't, it's a question that people get in these podcasts is, are you have your own software CRM? No, it's a one-time thing. We create the drips, we create the messaging, and then we actually plug it into your CRM. So I get firsthand look at a lot of CRMs. I could only give opinion on the drip functionalities of them, not like everything else. So, there's a lot of bells and whistles that they do. Sending contracts, receiving contracts, having DocuSign in them, and all that. I don't have any opinion on that part. But on the drip, I'd say the number 2 CRMs that are just so easy to work in when it comes to drip follow-up. They have a lot of capabilities, and the company of itself is really easy to work with. Meaning, like, I start to develop relationships with them where I will give them advice. Hey, I think this will work better for drip follow up, and they'll respond and they'll actually go and fix it. The number one for that component is Investorfuse. They are, like, as far as drip follow up, they're always trying to improve, and they've already got a solid, easy system right now. They got some little quirks that I found that I suggested to fix, and they said they're on top of it. The other one is also Resimpli. That'd be second to that, and they're very easy for drip follow-up as well. Actually, I put them level to level. They're both great, Resimpli and Investorfuse. So
cool.
Want to find motivated seller leads online, but don't know where to start? Download our free Motivated Seller Keyword Report today. AdWords nerds have spent over $5 million this year researching the most profitable keywords for finding motivated seller leads. And you can grab these exact keywords when you download our report at www.adwordsnerds.com/keywords.
Yeah, I mean, I think support is a big sort of intangible, right, of working with a lot of these companies. If you're going to be really invested and like, look, there's lots of different software packages. Lots of them will work, right? It's I always say, like, it's never a case where it's like, usually it's, any sort of major player is going to be able to do what you need it to do. But it's like, just like you said, what company can you form a relationship with, get good support from? Those things are really, really important, especially over the long term. So, okay, we're coming up on time. I don't want to keep you super, super long. I have to ask you, Who is your favorite classic copywriter? There are a lot of copywriters out there. We all have our favorites. I've got my favorites that I was like, coming up as a young online marketer where I was like, this is my guy, or like, this is my gal over here or whoever. So like, who do you look back on and you're like, this person was a big influencer on me, or I still look to this person, to read or to look at for examples or advice, things like that?
Man, that's a really hard question because copywriter training is you have your classics, you have your people you look up to, right? And so you have your swipe files, you're looking and you're reading all these classics. I'm going to say two. And I know you said one, but I'm going to say...
All right, I'll let you do two.
Because one is modern. One is modern and the other one is more old school.
Yeah.
The first I would say is Joe Sugarman. And you're not going to hear that answer. You're not going to hear that answer. Everyone's going to say Eugene Schwartz, which I love. I'm a big Eugene Schwartz fan. Gary Halbert. I'm a big Gary. I mean, I that's up there with Joe Sugarman. I'm a big Gary Halbert fan. I love his newsletters. I swallow it up and I just I try to implement how his writing style into what I do. But I say Joe Sugarman because he's very down to earth. Joe Sugarman, he started a mail order company 50s or 60s. I don't know how far back. He passed away already just recently, actually. This year, last year, he passed away.
Wow, I didn't know. Really?
Yeah, he passed away. Yeah. He has the book. Oh my gosh, I forgot. If you
Did he
Joe
write
Sugarman,
Triggers?
That's one of them. But if you get his other one, which is I think it's called it's AdWords Publish It or something. I don't know. But there's only like 2 books you can get from Joe Sugarman.
Yeah.
They available online. Anyway, he's really down to earth. And
the Ad Week copyright.
Yes, that's it right there. So I'd say he was the most influenced because to me, just because of his plain talk type of writing. And so I really took what he's written in that book and applied it. So if a year from now, if you ask me that same question, it'd probably be something completely different. So it really depends on what's the stage of my life and what I've been exposed to. The second, I would say this person will be, probably the most influential in my life is a guy by the name of Ben Settle. He's modern today, right?
Yeah.
He's actually very well known in the copywriting world today. I've been a newsletter subscriber of his for years, and I'd say he's most influential in me because he's the one actually that the reason why I entered into copywriting and taught me how to write email in the way I write today. So some of that style, I said some, and is in the emails that we deliver at OmniDrip. It's more of the infotainment type of email style. It's not the pitch only type of email style, and it's a style that I implement in e-commerce. Which in e-commerce, the whole idea in e-commerce is you're a company, you're speaking in a brand type of format. There's no personality. Well, one company I'm in right now, it's I flip that backwards where now there's actual face, there's actual personality, and we're talking about normal things rather than just pitching a deal. Treating your email list as if it's a booty call. You only email them when you have something to sell rather than giving value. And I do this for investors as well. The investors can do the same thing where cash buyers, the big problem right now. If you're a cash buyer, if you're looking for deals, you're going to get into different wholesalers' lists, email lists, and you're going to open up your inbox and you're going to see just price reduced, new deal. It's nothing but pitch only type of email formatting.
Yeah.
Well, I've proven it myself. I've proven it other companies. When you enter into a personality type of email and you're talking about other things rather than just presenting a new deal, what starts to occur is you become the first and sometimes the only email that person opens for the day. They read your email, your audience member becomes a fan of it and wants to read it every day, and you become the trusted source, credible source for that, whatever it is that you're selling in that department. So yeah, but to answer your question, Ben Settle has been the most influential for me in that department.
I love that. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Settle, although I've heard his name. I have Triggers back there, which is like one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. Those are both great. So I will link to all that stuff in the show notes, obviously. And here's the thing, folks. If you are listening to this and you want to check this out, so it's REI omnidrip.com. So we're not focus. OMNI drip.com. And correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, but if you go there and you can kind of pop in your email, you can actually get some free follow-up sequences to sort of see what this all looks like. Is that right?
Absolutely. I hand you some sequences, 2 sequences, hand you the signed with someone else sequence that occurs when they exactly what it says. When somebody signs with another investor, or they can list it as well on the MLS, pop that person into that sequence. And I also give an offer too low sequence. So where they express to you, hey, your offer's too low. I believe it might be the landlord or something like that, but I give you those sequences. There should be emails in there as well. If not, you can email me. And then there will be a demo video. Once you subscribe, you can find a demo video that shows you like the 10,000 foot view, the bird foot view of how it all works, of how you plug in these different sequences as the seller goes down your funnel.
I love that, man. I think, look, and again, I'll just say this again, like it's easy to listen to this conversation and be like, I'm not a marketer, I'm not a copywriter, right? Blah, blah, blah. Obviously, you can hire Paul and his team, and they can just give you this stuff. They could customize it for you, install it for you, all that stuff. But I just want to say, right, this is not, like I said this at the beginning of the episode, it's not just like marketing nitty gritty just for the heck of it. This is high impact stuff you can set up once and permanently improve your ROI on all of the marketing you do from this point forward, right? It is a massive force multiplier. And the sooner you do something like this and get it set up in your business, the better it is going to be for you. Paul Do Campo, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
This is the podcastfactory.com.